What is going on, everybody? In this video, I'm going to show two different ways to add SSH keys to a VM in GCP. There's probably plenty of other videos out there that show this. I don't like redoing content that's already out there, but I feel like the videos I've been doing lately, it's come up enough that I want to point to a video that I make just in case those others get removed or something like that. So that being said, let's jump right in. So here I am in my GCP console. I'm logged in and I have a project. Make that a little bigger. And so if you, well, let's start with generating the SSH key. And this walkthrough is going to be exclusive for Linux. I'm on Linux Mint. This will work for Ubuntu. I believe Mac as well, but I'm not sure about Mac actually. So if we just go to Google and gen SSH key GCP, we can click on the first link that shows up. Let's see. All right. And hopefully that's big enough. I'll make it a little bigger. So there are a few different ways you can generate keys. You could ask ChatGPT nowadays. I usually just go with this example here and we copy that. I'm going to Control-Alt-T to get a terminal. And of course this is a fresh VM, so I've got to manually zoom in here a little bit. Which it's kind of funny if you just go in and remap the same shortcut key here. It'll work then for some reason. So I think that's big enough. So the username, I typically just use Gary by convention, but that's just your preference. And the key file name, that is the name that the private and public keys are going to have in your .ssh directory. And if you're not familiar with that, I'll show that in just a moment. I'm just going to call this GCP. Hit enter. You can leave the passphrase blank. And Control L to clear the terminal. Now, if I look here, you won't see the SSH directory. In Linux, any directory starting with a dot is hidden by default. But we can... because I'm on VirtualBox, there are a lot of hidden files. But you see here I have a .ssh. The blue lets us know it's a directory. So if we just cd into that, and there's our private and public key. The private key being the key you keep on your local machine, and the public key being the one that you want to put on GCP. Alright, so to get the output we can just cat that, and again that is the public key. If I can type, and we should be able to copy that. Okay, so two ways to go about this. One, you can do metadata, I think compute engine metadata. Now when you add it here, it's going to add that to every compute engine VM that you create. And to do that, you would just add key, paste it in there, and save it. And that's fine. And now, if you need to add other keys going forward, well, here, let me go to my dashboard. Just because it's confused me once or twice, but that's easy to do. You come back here to SSH keys and say you've got another one that you'd like to add, and put that on every VM you create. You would just paste that there. And I'm just going to go ahead and, well, for this demo, I'll go ahead and just cancel. I probably should have added it to a VM first, so let me go ahead edit, delete that. So now no SSH keys will be added to compute engines. And I'm going to go here to VM instances and create instance. And I will call this no metadata. That's fine. I'm going to make this really small because we will delete it right away. Chances are it won't get preempted. If you're not familiar with spot instances, that just means GCP reserves the right to destroy it at any moment. But it is cheaper. But for as long as it's running, really don't need to worry about that. Same thing with this. I tend to just kind of spin these up and destroy them really quickly, so I kind of know which options to click. Okay, so down here, security is what we're looking for. And manage access. And I'm going to paste that SSH key there. And that all looks good. If you wanted to add more SSH keys, you could. And I'll just click create. Now, while that's creating, I have a template here. The other thing we're going to want to do, just to save us some time, is make a config file. And it does need to be in the .ssh directory. And I always forget exactly how this goes. But it takes host, which will be the shorthand name that you'll use for it. I can just call this no meta. And here you want 4 spaces, not a tab. Just be aware of that. The host name is going to be the public IP address from the VM we just spun up. And I'm not sure if that's available yet, so we'll just go through the others here real quick. User, when we generated it, we gave the name Gary. And identity file. Yes. And here, we could do dot, I believe we could do dot /GCP, dot meaning the current directory. What I usually do here is the tilde, and dot .ssh meaning my home directory, which in this case is home Gary. I think that's it. Okay, I think I stalled long enough. Let's see, we do have an IP address here that we can copy. Control-Shift-V to paste that. And you will want a space in between these parameters. The parameter name and the value, that space right there. Control-X. Oops. I hit a wrong key. Control-X. Y. Enter. And now I should be able to... I can't remember what I just called it. No meta. Yes. SSH. No meta. Tilde expanded. No such user. Oh, I need a slash. So that's my home directory, and then slash .ssh. I think that should do it. And trust the fingerprint, yes. And now here I am. And you can see that the host I am on changed from demo machine to no metadata, meaning that I spun up this VM and it has the SSH key just in this VM. And I could spin this a few ways to prove it, but I think this way's fast enough. I'm going to go ahead and add an SSH key. If I remember to copy it, exit to get out. I'm back on demo machine. Cat the public file, that's right. And copy that again. Okay. Sometimes when it spins like that, you just got to hit refresh. It actually saved, but it stalls out for some reason. So here, I'm going to, again, do a bit of a power run through this. Create VM instance with meta. Again, just make these small. Doesn't really matter for as long as they're going to be up. On termination, usually I do delete, stop is fine. But notice this time I'm not going to add the SSH key to the machine. I'm just going to spin it up. All the defaults are fine. And while that's coming up, I'm going to go ahead and open Visual Studio Code and just show you one other thing that having that config file buys us that will save you a lot of time, and I think is just darn cool. If I go here for extensions, this little 3-block cluster with a 4th one kind of going apart, I'm going to install Remote SSH from Microsoft. It looks like that installed. And now we can open a remote window. And usually I do connect current window to host. Otherwise, you'll have 2 Visual Studio Code windows open, which I just find annoying. And you see it read that config file. And then we can go one click rather than typing out SSH no meta. And watch, now it's going to fail, but in theory this will connect right to our machine. On GCP, that is. Let's see here. I did a spot instance, so I really hope that didn't get taken down. It actually did. That's a first for me. I have never had a spot instance get taken out. But we will need to update the IP address. In the meantime, I can't believe it actually took it out on me. All right. Well, actually, that's kind of awesome. I knew it was going to happen sometime, or figured it would. But here we can show, we're just going to do with meta, meaning with metadata, because we didn't add this to the VM explicitly. We just put it in the compute engine metadata, and it was super helpful and added it for us. The identity file is going to be the same. All right, Control X, Y, enter. Did I get the same IP address? I wouldn't think so, but it did give me the same IP address. Curiouser and curiouser. All right. Well, sure, retry. Let's see what happens. All right. So we are indeed connected to the no metadata instance. And here I can hit Control tilde, that little key below the escape key. And I think in Linux it's ifconfig, ipconfig. Let's see, print IP address Linux. Oh, it looks like maybe it was a minimal install. Let me just make sure I typed ifconfig. I'm sure if I did a sudo apt-get update, it would probably put that on. Well, I've got time. Let's do that. And while that's going, I'm going to open up Visual Studio Code. And notice now that we have 2 entries, we can choose that now as well. Make that bigger, of course. This should prompt me to accept the fingerprint because it's a new host, a new VM that I'm connecting to. Well, maybe not because I already did it in the last one. Actually, I'm not quite sure about that. Oh, it does need to be installed. So I guess you got to take my word for it that those are the 2 ways. So I guess if you want to spin up a bunch of VMs and be able to connect to them easily with one SSH key, you want to put that into the compute engine metadata. I do that quite often. Probably not best practice. If you have VMs you're going to keep running for a while, maybe name those keys the same as the machines that you're going to be using. Put those in the config file, and yeah, you should be good to go and keep some organization. I'm not great at that. One other thing I'd like to mention, so say you're switching computers and you can grab that private key, the private key being, in my case, this GCP. You can just cat that out. Do not share this with anyone ever, 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 ever. Just because bad things can happen. Just leave it at that. I'm not going to go into the laundry list of things that can go bad, but as a rule of thumb, never share your private key. But if you're just copying this to a new machine, I'm not sure if I can get that behavior here, but you could just nano GCP copy, Control-Shift-V, Control-X, Y, enter, and let me see the permissions. Yes, here. If you're not familiar, you can Google this, but basically, what is this? I always get this wrong. Owner group everyone, or group owner everyone. But you notice for a private key to work, it needs to be RW and then nothing else. Well, this GCP copy is RWRWR. To change that, if you try connecting, you will get a public key error or permission denied public key, something similar to that. Just go in here, chmod. In Windows, it's a bit more of a pain. I can't remember off the top of my head. And GCP copy. And GCP copy being the name of the key, not a command. That 600 that changed, that set the permissions. Chmod is the command to change permissions. 600 tells what permissions to apply, and then that would be fine. Okay, that's about it for this video. Now I'm just going to show the cleanup. So if you know how to do that, feel free to end it here. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and go to, well, in case you were clicking around, went somewhere else, I'm going to Compute Engine, VM instances, and just delete this guy, and delete this one. And because I have, you should see these actually drop in just a moment. It'll ask retry, cancel, something like that. Well, there we go. Well, they're being shut down and being destroyed, so no, I don't want to reload. That will try to reconnect. So, I guess that freezes there. Okay. This one's maybe trying to reconnect, but we know that won't work. And especially because I've shown a private SSH key to everyone that watches this, I'm going to rm GCP star, takes care of the copy, the private key, and the public key. And we see those are gone. I'm going to leave this config hanging out there. Nothing really wrong with that, just because I like having that template. Just those 4 parameters. I don't know if they've updated it. Let me check. Config SSH file. I find the documentation on that a little bit cryptic. You know, these, port instead of identity file. You don't really need that port. I just like keeping that as a template. I picked that up from Data Talks Club, Data Engineering Zoom Camp. Always give credit where credit is due. That was Alexei Grigorev, I believe. And I just like using that. I feel like it's nice, it's clean. It's never let me down unless I made a typo. And again, I'm stalling for time. Okay. You see, those are all gone. And just in the interest of all the housekeeping, metadata, compute engine, SSH keys, edit, delete, save, and clean slate, we're all done. Again, sorry for remaking a video that's probably out there elsewhere, but again, I feel like a lot of my videos I kind of go in and showing this. I just wanted to make this to save time as I'm going through, saying, hey, if you want to know more about adding the SSH keys, just watch this video. But hopefully you got something out of it, and I will see you in another video.